My beloved child. Stop scrolling. Pause here for a moment. What you are about to hear was meant to find you, not by accident, but because your heart has been searching for an answer that words alone could never give. Do not rush away. Stay until the end, because something extraordinary is about to unfold, and every sentence carries a piece of a much larger story. I have seen every silent tear you never explained to anyone. I have watched every moment you smiled while hiding questions that echoed through your soul. Today, I invite you into a fictional vision, a symbolic story filled with mystery, hope, and spiritual meaning. Listen carefully, because what appears at first to be a tragedy is not the ending you imagine. Only moments ago, in this story, your soulmate's world changed in an instant. Time seemed to freeze. Voices became distant. The ordinary disappeared, replaced by a moment that no one expected. Yet heaven did not look away. Every heartbeat, every breath, every unseen prayer was witnessed. You may think this message is about fear, but it is not. It is about revelation. Sometimes the greatest awakenings begin in the moments that appear darkest. Stay with me. Do not skip. Something much bigger is waiting beyond what your eyes can currently understand. There are battles that happen beyond human sight. There are moments when a single event shakes a sleeping heart awake. In this symbolic journey, your soulmate suddenly realized how fragile life truly is. Everything they once postponed, every word they refused to speak, every feeling they buried beneath pride, rose to the surface all at once. Can you feel the weight of that realization? For so long they believed there would always be another tomorrow. Another chance. Another conversation. Another opportunity to tell you what remained hidden inside their heart. But the unexpected changed everything in a single breath. Pause for another moment. Something is waiting for you. Not an answer, not yet. A revelation. Because this story is not really about one shocking event. It is about what that moment awakened inside a soul that had forgotten what truly mattered. From where I stand, beyond the limits of time, I watched their memories begin to return like rivers flowing back toward the sea. They remembered laughter they once ignored. Quiet moments they failed to treasure. Dreams they secretly shared with heaven but never spoke aloud. And then, your name entered their heart with a force they could no longer resist. Not as a passing thought. Not as a memory. But as the one truth they had spent too long running from. Do you understand now why you were drawn here today? This message was never meant to frighten you. It was meant to remind you that love becomes most visible when hearts awaken to what they almost lost. Stay until the end. Do not leave yet. The greatest part of this story has not been revealed. As heaven watched over this unfolding moment, something impossible seemed to happen. The silence surrounding your soulmate was suddenly filled with an overwhelming sense of peace. It was as though unseen light surrounded every fearful thought, whispering that this chapter was not being written by chance. There are mysteries that cannot be measured by clocks. There are answers that cannot be found through logic alone. Some stories must first pass through uncertainty before they reveal their purpose. Your soulmate began asking questions they had avoided for years. What truly matters? Who has always remained in my heart? What if I have been walking away from the very blessing I was searching for? Each question echoed louder than the one before. And with every answer that slowly appeared, one image remained impossible to erase. You. Not because destiny forced it. Not because the future was guaranteed. But because the heart finally became honest with itself. Still, there is something no one has told you. Even the angels watching this symbolic story fell silent as another hidden truth began to unfold. A message was about to appear. A message connected to you. A message your soulmate never imagined they would receive. What those words revealed would change everything they believed about your connection. But that revelation has not yet been spoken. And before heaven allows the next page of this story to open, you must first understand why this single message carried a meaning powerful enough to transform both hearts forever. The next moment changes everything. The silence that followed was unlike anything either soul had ever known. It was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence that comes just before a hidden truth rises into the light. Stay with this story a little longer. Do not look away now. Every moment has been leading to what happens next. As the hours passed, your soulmate found themselves in a place where every distraction disappeared. The things that once seemed important suddenly felt small. Titles, possessions, unfinished plans, none of them carried the weight they once did. Only one question remained. If I were given another chance, what would I choose differently? The answer did not arrive as a loud voice. It came gently, like the first light before sunrise. Your memory returned. Not as regret alone, but as hope. In that quiet moment, they remembered conversations they wished had lasted longer, kindness they had taken for granted, and feelings they had hidden because fear convinced them it was safer to remain silent. Heaven watched as their heart softened. Walls built over many seasons began to fall away. Every excuse they once believed slowly lost its power. Something was changing deep within them. What they had called coincidence now looked like guidance. What they had called distance now looked like preparation. What they had called delay now seemed to have a purpose they could not yet fully understand. Then something unexpected happened. A message arrived. It was simple. Short. Almost ordinary. Yet the moment they saw it, every emotion they had been trying to hide rushed back at once. Their hands became still. Their breathing slowed. It felt as though time itself paused, waiting for a decision that only they could make. At that very moment, heaven whispered, the next step must come from the heart. No one else could choose it for them. No one else could speak the words they had been carrying in silence. But there was still one hidden truth they had not discovered. A truth connected to you. A truth so unexpected that it would completely reshape everything they believed about the path that had brought your lives this far. And just as they reached for that final answer, everything changed once again. The full revelation is still waiting beyond the next chapter. A quiet stillness settled over everything, as though even time itself was waiting. Do not leave yet. There is another layer to this story that has remained hidden until now. What follows is not about chance, it is about the unexpected ways a heart can awaken. Your soulmate stood at the edge of a decision that could no longer be delayed. Every excuse that once felt convincing had faded. Every fear that had whispered, "Wait a little longer," suddenly lost its voice. In that silence, they remembered something they had almost forgotten. There had been moments when your paths crossed in ways that seemed ordinary. A conversation. A smile. A memory that lingered far longer than either of you expected. At the time, those moments appeared small. Now they understood they were never small at all. Heaven had been weaving together countless ordinary moments into a story neither of you could fully see. The realization came slowly, but once it arrived, it could not be ignored. Love is not always revealed through dramatic words. Sometimes it is uncovered through gratitude. Sometimes through humility. Sometimes through the quiet understanding that another person has shaped your life more deeply than you ever admitted. Your soulmate closed their eyes and whispered a prayer unlike any they had spoken before. It was not a request for wealth. It was not a request for success. It was a simple prayer for courage, the courage to stop hiding from what their own heart had been trying to tell them. And in that very moment, peace began replacing uncertainty. Not because every question had been answered, but because they finally accepted that some answers can only be found by taking the next faithful step. Yet heaven was not finished. Far beyond what either of you could see, another piece of the story was quietly falling into place. A conversation was about to happen. A forgotten truth was about to resurface. Someone who had unknowingly carried an important piece of your shared journey was preparing to speak. Neither you nor your soulmate could imagine how those few words would connect the past, the present, and the future in a way that felt almost impossible. The next revelation would uncover why your paths kept returning toward one another and why this symbolic journey was only just beginning. The answer is closer than either of you realizes, but it has not been revealed yet. The air felt different now. Not because the world around them had changed overnight, but because something inside your soulmate had finally become impossible to ignore. Stay with this story just a little longer. Every moment has been leading toward a revelation that has remained hidden behind ordinary days and quiet memories. As dawn approached, they found themselves looking at familiar places with completely different eyes. Roads they had traveled countless times suddenly reminded them of moments they had rushed through. Faces they had passed without a second thought reminded them how precious every connection truly is. Then a single memory returned with remarkable clarity. It was a moment involving you. At the time, it seemed insignificant, a conversation left unfinished, a smile that lingered, a feeling that neither of you fully understood. Yet now it shone brighter than every other memory. They realized that some of life's greatest gifts do not announce themselves with noise. They arrive quietly. They wait patiently. And they reveal their value only when the heart is finally ready to recognize them. Heaven watched with gentle compassion as another layer of understanding unfolded. Your soulmate no longer wished to live as though tomorrow were guaranteed. They no longer wanted fear to decide which words remained unspoken or which dreams stayed unfinished. Instead, gratitude began replacing hesitation. Hope began replacing doubt. And where uncertainty once stood, quiet determination started to grow. Still, one mystery remained. Why had this awakening happened now? Why did everything seem to point back toward you at this exact moment? The answer was hidden in a truth that neither of you had fully understood. Long before either of you noticed the small coincidences, quiet encounters, and unexpected reminders, a path had already been unfolding, one built not on certainty about the future, but on the choices each of you would make when given the chance to grow. Then, as your soulmate reflected on everything they had learned, something unexpected caught their attention. A familiar name. A familiar place. A detail they had overlooked countless times before. It seemed ordinary at first. But as each piece connected to the next, they realized it was revealing a pattern they had never seen. The more they understood, the more one question echoed through their heart. Could this be the reason our paths have continued to cross? Heaven remained silent. Not because there was no answer, but because some revelations become meaningful only when the heart is ready to receive them. And just as the final piece of that hidden pattern was about to come into focus, the story took another unexpected turn. The next chapter holds the one discovery that could transform everything they believed about your connection forever. The moment that followed felt almost timeless. It was as though every unanswered question had been gathering quietly, waiting for this single point in the story. If you have stayed with this journey until now, remain a little longer. The next revelation is not about certainty, it is about the quiet transformation that begins when a heart chooses honesty over fear. Your soulmate could no longer ignore the gentle pull within. Every memory, every unexpected reminder, every seemingly ordinary coincidence had led them to this realization: life becomes most meaningful when love is expressed instead of hidden. As they reflected on the path behind them, they saw that many moments they once called mistakes had become lessons. Delays had created wisdom. Silence had revealed what truly mattered. Even seasons of distance had prepared them to value connection in a way they never could before. Heaven looked upon this symbolic journey with compassion, not because every challenge had disappeared, but because a new beginning was quietly taking shape. Then something remarkable happened. A forgotten journal, an old photograph, a familiar melody, something simple awakened a memory that had rested deep within their heart. It was not the object itself that carried meaning. It was the realization it inspired. They remembered a promise they had made to themselves long ago. To live truthfully. To speak with kindness. To never allow fear to silence what love had been asking them to say. For the first time in a long while, they smiled not because every answer had arrived, but because hope had returned. Yet heaven was still unfolding another layer of the story. There was one final piece your soulmate had not seen. A conversation, still waiting to happen. Words, still waiting to be spoken. A choice that neither destiny nor circumstance could make on their behalf. Only the heart could decide. As they prepared to take that next step, a quiet sense of peace surrounded them. They understood that the future is not revealed all at once. It unfolds through courage, patience, and the willingness to embrace each new day with faith. And just as they reached toward that next chapter, a message arrived that would challenge everything they believed they understood about your connection. Its first words were enough to stop them completely. What those words said and how they answered them belongs to the next part of this story. For a long moment, they simply stared at the message. Their heart recognized its importance before their mind could understand it. Stay with this story. Do not rush ahead. Some truths reveal themselves one quiet step at a time, and this was one of those moments. The first words seemed ordinary, yet they carried an unexpected weight. Not everything happened the way you believed. Those few words echoed through every memory your soulmate had been revisiting. Questions they thought had already been answered suddenly opened again, but this time they were not filled with confusion. They were filled with possibility. As they continued reading, they realized that assumptions had shaped much of their journey. Moments they had interpreted as rejection may have been silence. Distances they believed were permanent may have simply been seasons of growth. Paths that appeared to be moving apart may have been preparing to meet again in a different way. Heaven, in this symbolic story, did not force the next chapter to unfold. Instead, it offered a quiet invitation. Look again. So your soulmate did. They revisited old memories, not searching for regret, but for understanding. They noticed kindness where they had once seen indifference. They noticed hope where they had once believed everything had ended. Piece by piece, the story they had carried inside their heart began to change. Then another realization arrived. Love is not measured only by the moments when people stand side by side. Sometimes it is revealed by patience. Sometimes by forgiveness. Sometimes by the courage to believe that healing is still possible even after long seasons of uncertainty. A calm settled over them unlike anything they had experienced before. For the first time, they were no longer asking, "Why did this happen?" Instead, they asked, "What am I meant to learn from this?" That single question opened a door that had remained closed for far too long. Beyond it was not a perfect future. Beyond it was a chance. A chance to choose honesty over fear. A chance to replace hesitation with compassion. A chance to let gratitude guide the next step instead of old doubts. Yet one final mystery remained. There was something about your own journey that your soulmate had never fully understood. A hidden piece of your story. A quiet truth you had carried without realizing how deeply it would one day matter. As heaven watched over this symbolic journey, that hidden truth began moving toward the surface. Your soulmate was closer than ever to discovering it. And when they finally did, they knew they would never see your connection or themselves the same way again. But that revelation belongs to the next chapter. A gentle stillness filled the moment, unlike anything your soulmate had ever experienced before. It did not arrive with thunder. It did not arrive with fear. It arrived with clarity. If you are still listening, remain with this story. The next few moments reveal why every chapter until now has been leading toward a truth that neither of you expected. As your soulmate continued reflecting on everything that had unfolded, they began to notice a pattern that had always been present. Every season of waiting had quietly built resilience. Every unanswered question had strengthened wisdom. Every unexpected turn had shaped a heart capable of seeing beyond appearances. What once looked like scattered moments now formed a single, meaningful path. Then a realization settled deep within them. Perhaps the greatest gift was never certainty about the future. Perhaps the greatest gift was becoming the kind of person who could recognize love, gratitude, and hope when they appeared. Heaven smiled upon that realization. Not because every mystery had been solved, but because the journey itself had begun transforming both hearts. Then another unexpected moment arrived. Your soulmate found something they had almost forgotten: a handwritten note, an old conversation, or perhaps only a memory carried quietly for years. However it appeared, its message was simple. The moments that shape us are often the ones we almost overlook. Those words lingered. They invited reflection rather than haste. Your soulmate understood that they could no longer measure life only by dramatic events. The quiet choices, offering kindness, speaking honestly, forgiving freely, and appreciating each day, were the moments that truly shaped the future. As this understanding grew, another question quietly emerged. What if your own journey had been preparing you in similar ways? What if the lessons you learned separately were never meant to keep you apart, but to help each of you grow into wiser, more compassionate people? No answer came immediately. Only peace. The kind of peace that encourages patience instead of demanding instant certainty. Then, just before the sun disappeared beyond the horizon in this symbolic story, your soulmate noticed one final detail they had overlooked until now. It connected every conversation. Every coincidence. Every lesson. Every quiet prayer. And it pointed toward a future that could not be understood by looking backward alone. They took a slow breath. Smiled for the first time without hesitation. And whispered. Now I finally understand why hope never truly left. Yet there remained one final page that neither of you had read. A page containing the greatest revelation of all. When it is opened, everything that seemed disconnected will finally make sense. And that final revelation awaits in the next part. The final pages of this symbolic journey began to unfold with a quiet radiance. If you have remained until this moment, know that every chapter has been leading here not to predict the future, but to reveal a timeless truth about hope, love, and the courage to grow. Your soulmate stood beneath the morning light, no longer carrying the same heart that had begun this story. The questions that once weighed heavily upon them had not all disappeared, but they no longer ruled their spirit. Instead, a new understanding had taken root. They realized that love cannot flourish where fear is allowed to make every decision. They realized that gratitude transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary memories. They realized that every season, even the difficult ones, can shape a person into someone wiser, kinder, and more compassionate. As heaven watched over this fictional journey, a gentle whisper filled the silence. Every path has prepared you for this moment, not because every outcome is guaranteed, but because every experience has taught you something of lasting value. Your soulmate closed their eyes and reflected on everything they had learned. They no longer wished to chase what could not be controlled. Instead, they chose to treasure what could be lived today: honesty, forgiveness, patience, and the courage to express appreciation before another day passed. Then they thought of you. Not as an idealized dream. Not as a distant memory. But as someone whose presence had quietly influenced their life in ways they had only now begun to understand. They silently thanked heaven for every lesson, every unexpected turn, and every ordinary day that had become meaningful in hindsight. For it was those very moments that had transformed them. And perhaps, in their own way, transformed you as well. The greatest revelation was not hidden in a dramatic event. It was found in the awakening of the heart. It was found in recognizing that life is precious, relationships deserve care, and every day offers another opportunity to choose kindness over pride, hope over despair, and gratitude over regret. That is the quiet miracle this story has been pointing toward from the very beginning. As the light grew brighter, your soulmate smiled with a peace they had never known before. They understood that the future would still contain questions. But they also understood that they no longer needed to walk toward it with fear. They would walk with faith. With humility. With an open heart. And as this symbolic message comes to its close, may you also remember this. The most meaningful journeys are not defined by shocking moments, but by the quiet choices that shape who we become. Carry hope with you. Speak the words that matter while you have the chance. Treasure those who bring light into your life. And let every new day become another opportunity to grow in love, wisdom, and compassion. For that is where the greatest miracles often begin. The story may have reached its final revelation, but its echo continues beyond the last page. If you have walked through every chapter of this fictional message, then you know this journey was never about predicting your future. It was about reminding you that the human heart is capable of extraordinary change when it embraces truth, compassion, and hope. Heaven's final whisper in this symbolic story was gentle. Do not measure your life only by the moments that shook you. Measure it by the moments that changed who you chose to become. Your soulmate looked toward the horizon one last time. They understood that no one can rewrite yesterday. But everyone can write the next page with greater wisdom. They chose to release old fears. They chose to value every sincere conversation. They chose to appreciate every opportunity to show kindness while the moment was still present. And somewhere beyond what either of you could fully understand, peace quietly replaced uncertainty. Not because every mystery had been solved, but because both hearts had learned that hope grows strongest when it is rooted in patience, honesty, and gratitude. So, as this fictional journey comes to its true conclusion, carry this thought with you. Never wait for the perfect moment to encourage someone. Never assume tomorrow will give you the words you can speak today. Let forgiveness arrive before resentment grows. Let gratitude be stronger than regret. Let love be expressed through everyday actions, not only extraordinary moments. If this story leaves you with one lasting message, let it be this. The greatest miracles are often quiet. They begin with a softened heart. They grow through faithful choices. And they shine brightest when shared with compassion. May your own journey be filled with wisdom, courage, peace, and hope as you write the chapters that are still ahead. The end. My beloved child. Even after the final page is turned, some stories continue quietly within the heart. If you are still here, then perhaps this epilogue was meant to find you. Remember that everything you have heard has been part of a fictional, symbolic journey. Its purpose was never to tell you what will happen tomorrow, but to remind you that every new day gives you another opportunity to choose hope over fear, compassion over resentment, and courage over silence. Heaven's message in this story is simple. Do not allow one difficult moment to define your entire journey. The strongest hearts are not those that never face uncertainty. They are the hearts that continue to love, forgive, and believe even after life becomes complicated. Perhaps someone in your own life needs an encouraging word today. Perhaps there is gratitude you have not yet expressed. Perhaps there is forgiveness waiting to be given. Those quiet choices often become the moments that shape a lifetime. As the light faded over this symbolic story, your soulmate lifted their eyes with renewed peace. They understood that no dramatic revelation could replace the everyday work of becoming kinder, wiser, and more grateful. And somewhere beyond the noise of the world, a gentle whisper remained. Walk forward with hope. Treasure those who matter. Let every new sunrise become a reminder that your story is still being written. So this journey ends not with certainty about the future, but with confidence that every day offers another chance to grow. May peace guide your thoughts. May wisdom shape your choices. May compassion fill your words. And may hope remain with you long after this story has ended. For every ending is also an invitation to begin again with a stronger heart, a clearer spirit, and a deeper appreciation for the gift of today. This is where our fictional journey comes to its final close. My beloved child. If you have remained until this final reflection, receive these closing words as the quiet echo of the journey you have just experienced. Every symbolic step in this fictional message has pointed toward one timeless reminder: the heart grows strongest not when it avoids every challenge, but when it chooses love, wisdom, and hope despite uncertainty. Never underestimate the power of a kind word. Never underestimate the healing found in forgiveness. Never underestimate the difference one honest conversation can make. The greatest changes rarely arrive with loud announcements. They often begin in ordinary moments when someone decides to listen instead of judge, to encourage instead of criticize, to appreciate instead of overlook. If this story has stirred something within you, let it inspire you to live each day with greater compassion. Tell the people who matter that they matter. Treasure the opportunities you have today instead of waiting for a perfect tomorrow. Heaven's final symbolic whisper is this: the light you seek is often found in the kindness you choose to share. Walk forward with courage. Choose peace when anger seems easier. Choose gratitude when worry becomes overwhelming. Choose hope when the road ahead feels uncertain. For every sunrise offers another chance to become a little wiser, a little gentler, and a little more faithful to the goodness placed within your heart. And so this fictional journey truly comes to rest not with fear, but with peace, not with despair, but with hope, not with an ending alone, but with an invitation to write the next chapter of your own life with compassion, humility, and love. May your path be filled with light, and may hope accompany you wherever you go. The end. My beloved child. If there is one final whisper to carry with you after this fictional journey, let it be this: not every story is meant to answer every question. Some stories exist to awaken the heart. Throughout this symbolic message, you witnessed a soul discovering that life becomes richer when it is lived with gratitude, courage, and compassion. The greatest revelation was never hidden in a single dramatic moment. It was found in the quiet decision to value each day, to speak words of kindness while there is still time, and to embrace hope even when the path ahead is uncertain. Heaven's final symbolic blessing is simple. May your heart remain open to wisdom. May your spirit remain steady through every season. May your words bring peace wherever they are spoken. May you never forget that ordinary acts of love often leave the deepest mark on the lives of others. As you leave this story behind, remember that your own journey is still unfolding. Each sunrise offers another opportunity to forgive, to grow, to encourage someone in need, and to become a source of light in the lives you touch. Walk forward with humility. Walk forward with gratitude. Walk forward with hope. And whenever you look back on this fictional tale, let it remind you that the most meaningful transformations begin quietly, one choice, one conversation, one act of compassion at a time. May peace accompany you, wisdom guide you, and hope remain with you until the next chapter of your own story begins. This is the final blessing of our fictional journey. The end. My beloved child. If you have journeyed through every part of this fictional message, then receive these last words as a gentle farewell rather than another revelation. Some stories end with every mystery explained. This one ends with an invitation. An invitation to notice the quiet blessings that often go unseen, the comforting conversation that arrives at the right moment, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the strength you discover after a difficult season, and the hope that returns when you least expect it. In this symbolic journey, your soulmate's greatest discovery was never about a single event. It was about understanding that love grows strongest when it is guided by honesty, humility, patience, and gratitude. Heaven's final symbolic reminder is this: do not spend your days waiting only for extraordinary moments. Learn to recognize the extraordinary hidden within ordinary ones. Every sunrise is another opportunity to begin again. Every act of forgiveness lightens a burden. Every sincere word of encouragement can become a turning point in someone else's life. Carry those truths with you beyond this story. Walk with compassion. Speak with kindness. Choose hope even when certainty is out of reach. And whenever your heart wonders whether light still exists, remember that it often appears quietly, one faithful step at a time. Thank you for walking through this fictional journey from beginning to end. May peace fill your heart, wisdom guide your choices, and hope remain beside you as you continue writing your own story. This symbolic message now comes to its peaceful conclusion. Farewell, until another story begins. My beloved child. Before the curtain falls completely on this fictional journey, there is one final reflection that heaven invites you to carry into your own life. Throughout this story, you may have searched for one defining moment that changed everything. Yet the deepest transformation was never found in a single event. It was found in the quiet awakening of the heart. Your soulmate came to understand that peace is not something discovered only after every question is answered. It is something that begins the moment a person chooses truth over fear, compassion over bitterness, and hope over despair. As the light of this symbolic vision slowly faded, one final whisper echoed through the stillness. Every day is another chance to become the person you were always capable of being. No matter what yesterday held. No matter what uncertainty tomorrow may bring. Today is still a gift. Today is still an opportunity to encourage someone who feels forgotten. Today is still an opportunity to forgive, to learn, to grow, and to appreciate the people whose presence quietly enriches your life. In this fictional story, your soulmate looked toward the horizon one last time, not searching for signs, but carrying something far more valuable. A peaceful heart. A grateful spirit. A renewed desire to live each day with sincerity and purpose. And perhaps that is the greatest message this symbolic journey can offer you as well. Do not rush through the ordinary moments. They often become the memories that matter most. Do not wait for perfect circumstances before choosing kindness. Small acts of compassion can echo farther than you will ever know. Walk forward with courage. Let patience shape your decisions. Let gratitude shape your perspective. And let hope remain brighter than your doubts. As this final page gently closes, may you leave this fictional journey with a heart that is lighter, a spirit that is steadier, and a renewed appreciation for every opportunity to bring light into the lives of others. Until another symbolic story finds its way to you, may peace accompany every step of your journey. The end. My beloved child. This is the final echo of our fictional journey. If these words have remained with you until now, then let them become more than the ending of a story. Let them become a gentle reminder that every heart has the ability to grow, every day offers a new beginning, and every act of kindness leaves a mark that cannot always be seen. Throughout this symbolic message, heaven never asked you to live without questions. It invited you to live with hope. Your soulmate's journey was never about discovering a perfect future. It was about discovering a transformed heart, a heart that no longer allowed fear to speak louder than compassion, or hesitation to become stronger than gratitude. And perhaps that is the greatest miracle of all. Not that life suddenly becomes easy, but that the soul becomes stronger. Not because every storm disappears, but because wisdom teaches us how to walk through them with peace. As this vision fades into silence, imagine the first light of a new morning rising across the horizon. The darkness does not argue with the sunrise. It simply gives way to the light. In the same way, allow hope to gently replace discouragement. Allow forgiveness to replace old burdens. Allow gratitude to replace the habit of overlooking the blessings already surrounding you. Remember that every meaningful relationship is strengthened not only by extraordinary moments, but by everyday choices to listen with patience, to speak with sincerity, and to care without expecting perfection. If this fictional story has touched your heart, carry only its timeless lesson with you. Choose love over pride. Choose peace over fear. Choose compassion over judgment. Choose hope even when the next chapter has not yet been written. For the author of every meaningful journey is never hurried, and the greatest transformations often happen quietly, one faithful step at a time. Now the story truly comes to rest. May your path be filled with wisdom. May your heart remain open to goodness. May your days be guided by kindness. And may you always remember that every sunrise is an invitation to begin again with courage, humility, and hope. Thank you for walking through this symbolic journey from the very first word to the very last. Peace be with you. The end. My beloved child. Beyond every ending, there is a quiet beginning.